The aforementioned Bruce Feldman, the great reporter, college football, CBSSports.com. He joins us now on More with Johnny Manziel. Where do we stand with this right now on this Tuesday, Bruce?
Dan, with Johnny Manziel met with the NCAA investigators for 5.5 hours, I was told by multiple sources. And in the course of that, they really wanted to get into, his financial records and a lot of detail on that. Not just about all the allegations about memorabilia signings, but also even all the trips that he took this offseason and was on the road a lot. I think that had raised a lot of suspicion, around the NCAA as well. He did not admit to accepting any money for any of the autograph signs, from what I'm told. Now, you got to keep in mind that the Texas A&M chancellor, the school by and large, Kevin Sumlin and people inside the program have been very tight-lipped publicly about this. Well, the chancellor of Texas A&M has come out guns blazing, saying, "I trust Johnny. Johnny wouldn't do this. Johnny's innocent." Now, he also said all this without adding that he hadn't really talked to him about it. But when you have that kind of support from basically the most powerful guy at the university, you would think Johnny Manziel is going to play. Even in the release that Texas A&M put out yesterday saying, hey, Kevin Sumlin and any of the staff or players are not going to talk about this, they referred to Johnny Manziel as the starting quarterback, so that was kind of tipping their hand. I guess that unless the NCAA tells them and recommends that, you know what, you should sit Johnny Manziel till this thing clears up, I expect Texas A&M to play him this week in the opener against Rice, as well as the rest of the way.
Has he denied signing the autographs or just denied taking money?
Accepting money. Now, you got to remember, Johnny Manziel, like a lot of other stars, signs many autographs, and I think there were stories, even in some of the ESPN allegations, there were people saying, "Hey, he didn't get money for this." Now you'd wonder. I mean, it's not a stretch to go, well, why would somebody sign all this stuff and not accept any money? The one thing, I don't know that if Johnny Manziel, who was there with his attorneys, and I'm sure they had plenty of time to prepare how they were going to handle this. A couple of weeks ago, I had spoken to an autograph broker in Florida who went on the record with me and said most of the business he does is with pro players, but he said, yes, we do agreements with eligible college athletes. And the way that works is it's kind of a gray area. And this is talking to NCAA can't touch memorabilia brokers, but he said, we do this. And then as soon as they are able to go their eligibility is up, he said, I'm talking like an hour after their bowl games, because there are a lot of bowl games in Florida, we'll go to some hotel room or something and do these signings, and that's where they get compensated for it. Would that fly with the NCAA? My guess is it wouldn't, but who knows how this stuff's going to play out. The one thing I would, because also attached to this is Johnny Manziel's buddy Nate Finch, one of his high school buddies who was his de facto manager. Did Nate Finch get paid for this? Did Johnny Manziel know if Nate Finch got paid for it? I think that people look at it and go, well, Cam Newton, this sounds like the Cam Newton case. They couldn't prove it, but it sounded shady. But now there's this Cam Newton loophole that the NCAA created in the wake of that. You got to keep in mind, this version of the NCAA is much weaker than it was just a few years ago. Mark Emmert's on shaky ground. The NCAA enforcement staff has been really riddled with defections and a lot of incompetence, and there's just even less trust with it. So, it's going to be a really interesting couple of weeks as this thing plays out.
What do you think happens with Johnny Manziel? What's the ruling on Wednesday?
I'm not sure that there's going to be a ruling. There may be some kind of recommendation. From what you heard from the chancellor, Texas A&M chancellor, coming out so strong, my gut is Texas A&M is going to play him. And I think on the back end of this, just from talking to people in Manziel's camp a couple of weeks ago, I think Johnny Manziel's family, if Texas A&M, kind of pulled back and said, hey, we got to sit you out, that's almost an admission of guilt to some extent that they would view it as. I think Johnny Manziel's family would end up suing the NCAA and Texas A&M in the wake of this. I think it's that combustible of a situation, because if Johnny Manziel sits anytime they put him on the sideline, I think people are going to look at that going, it's come on, it's basically an admission of guilt, and that's why my guess is they won't sit him. And to me, really the Texas A&M chancellor, has put more chips on the table than anything.
Yeah.
Let's say worst case scenario, Johnny Manziel in this case is found to have accepted money or somebody close to him, and he had knowledge of it. Johnny Manziel didn't really think he, had a DUI and killed somebody or had some horrific crime. The NFL will still be there. I think when he leaves college, if it comes out that he did this, people will shrug their shoulders on it because there are a lot of people think, you know what, good, go make money off of your own name. Yeah, you broke a stupid rule the NCAA has, but ultimately I think that they wouldn't think it would impact whether he can make plays on Sunday. And the one thing I do think is if Johnny Manziel plays, from talking to people and from being down there at A&M a little bit last week, Johnny Manziel is going to play really well because as crazy as it sounds, the more drama around him, the better that kid plays.
Yeah, he's Johnny Drama. There's no doubt about that. But I think they go Cam Newton on this situation. I think that just the full speed ahead, play, roll the dice, and good luck finding the money. Before I let you go, best game this weekend, including Thursday. What would be the best game?
For me, it's Clemson, Georgia. Clemson against an SEC school. Taj Boyd's a legit Heisman candidate. Clemson has finally built up some credibility. Even Taj Boyd jokes about, Clemson pulled the Clemson. He's heard enough about that. Well, you know what? They beat LSU last year to end the season at a comeback win. I think he is a really charismatic leader. They got a good system. Georgia has to replace a ton of guys on defense. And that would be a big win over an SEC school right out of the gate. To me, Taj Boyd and Clemson are the biggest spotlight games, of week one.
Good to visit with you, Bruce, as always. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you, Dan.
That's Bruce Feldman, CBSSports.com. Yeah, I think if I'm A&M, just judging from what the chancellor said and knowing Johnny Manziel's personality, come get me. It's like Leonardo DiCaprio. Catch me if you can. Although they did catch him.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.